Hello, my friends. Welcome into another episode of 5 Minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Today is a special sit-down edition with a wonderful friend of the program. First time on, Bill Schomburg. My friend, how are you?
Honored, man.
It's great. We've been talking and doing things together for a long time. We haven't had you on the show. You've been a executive producer and producer on the show. Actually, the Carbis Chronicles you helped produce last year. We appreciate that. So I want to talk to you because we're doing another season of the Chronicles, as you know. And the second season, much like 2020, is all about people and process. Period. Hashtag people and process 2020. That's what we're after. And I'd like to talk to you about that because we're not talking about the car business when we talk about it with you. You're new to the car business. Your brother is your car historian, as that goes. He is your street cred to get you in the door with people like me. That's how it works. He does a good job of it.
That's even better.
So what is your car biz history, Bill? The snapshot, the quickest version you could think of, and then where did people in process tie in the most for you, top of mind?
So I've had 3 careers.
Okay.
One of them was really brief. I worked in a pallet shop, which I don't know anything about pallets either, but I had a severe accident. Actually, the anniversary of that accident is this Sunday, November 3rd.
Okay.
And in that pallet shop, we hired only second chance men. And it taught me so much more about people. So that occurred in 2012. That's when I had that, 2011, 2012. About a year, maybe 15 months.
When you say second chance, sorry, you're talking about prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
Individuals who could not get a job anywhere else, society's thrown them aside. They can't even get an interview, let alone a job.
Yeah. And because of what's happened in their past.
Their past, and we all have a past.
We all do. Great.
And that stint solidified the idea of why processes are okay, but without people and how the process impacts the people, because the people are your asset.
Correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear it as a cliche today, but it's been true forever and ever and ever.
So you were working in that role. You were working with people on a second chance, and obviously, then process becomes
critical,
the most imperative, because on its basics, you don't have the highest quality of employee, so personnel isn't the best. But if processes are great, we can make those people wonderful. Is that
the ability? The ability to improve people depends on a good process.
Yeah.
Without good processes, you can cover up bad people. But if you got good processes, people who can improve can't hide.
Right.
Or who need improvement. So the two are linked intrinsically. And to the idea of, from the outside looking in, a challenged past with an individual, the only thing that a person needs, and this is true of people without a challenged past, they need the desire to be better. They have to arrive with the idea, I'm here because I have some talents or gifts that I can offer to this entity, whether it's a car dealership, a turf building crew, whatever it is. But without the structure to be able to fit into that, there's no chance for anybody to get better.
Right.
So that's why they're linked intrinsically. The only thing I can't teach a person to do is care. But if in my brief interview, and that's one of the places I learned to conduct a brief but effective interview, identify the individual, that simple question, I don't care anything else that you know, but if I know that you care, everything else is teachable.
Care. Interesting, because that is, if you look at it on the surface, when people are not excelling at their jobs or when they struggle with their jobs, it's typically around how much they care to either excel, learn more, do more, etc., push themselves.
In addition to whether or not they have identified their leadership, whether or not they care.
Well, see, that's a whole other thing.
I know there's
people in process it isn't just about the people who are doing the process.
Bingo.
It is about those who implement or design or whatever it is, right? The leadership is a good point.
Or go out seeking the idea, is there a better way to do things? So if leadership identifies what leadership or ownership, sometimes two different aspects.
Yeah.
But if they identify, hey, look, this is really working for XYZ. We got to look at that. Well, Well, then you got to start asking the questions. Why is it working for them? Why do we think it's going to work for us? What obstacles did they face in their implementation? What obstacles are we going to face? Because it's never going to be the same.
Right.
Not a chance. And anybody who thinks it is, they're looking for the cookie cutter rather than how we're going to get better.
Sure.
And there's a big difference. So it all trickles down, leadership and ownership, if they're aligned, how do we get better? Then the second tier, you hear the word managers all the time.
Yeah.
Managers to me is it's a poor contraction of the word, and worse in execution. If somebody says to me, I'd like to hire you to manage some people, I'm not your guy. If the people are in my charge, you give me control and influence, I'm your guy.
So the distinction there is I'm not going to just manage them, I'm going to grow them.
If I'm a man, I equate the word manager to babysitter, and I'm not going to babysit. It doesn't serve anyone, especially the people that are supposed to be assisted. Yeah. You want to be babysat? You're not my guy either.
Right, and then to me it brings up a different. Then it's like then what's the point of what they're doing? Like, why do I have people that need to be babysat? Why do we need people in roles that are babysit needed? I don't. That seems to me almost like that's counterproductive.
Poor hiring decisions.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
I know, cans of worms.
You're just walking me all the way out here, right? We're like, people process, very easy. No, not really. Leadership, no. Hiring of that, no. Okay, so you did this. So the pallet gig was the last one, right? Before the car business.
Before the turf business.
Oh, it was before the turf business.
Well,
okay.
It's kind of in the middle.
Okay.
So I started in turf in '97. I finished in turf in 17. So there's 20 years. Literally right in the middle of it was my accident. I shattered everything from my waist down. Anniversary on Sunday.
Got it.
So the recovery period, I started out in a wheelchair. The owner hired me. Hey, I got a business that's doing well in the single digit millions, and he wanted to double it, and he wanted to know what it was going to take and how long was it going to take. And so he hired a guy with no pallet experience, in a wheelchair. Attends the same church. So what do the employees think? Hey, here's a guy that needed a job, and the white guy owner said, I'll bring in another white guy that doesn't know anything about what we do and expect us all to get better. So learning the lessons of the owner asked me after about 3 months, hey, are you ever going to do anything? I said, well, explain to me what you mean. And he said, well, you've been here 3 months, I'm paying you, and I haven't seen any change. I said, well, let's go have lunch, because we're not going to talk about this in front of... We had an open office situation. I believed in that from the start.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And so at lunch, I said, well, here's the deal. I explained to him what I just said to you. No experience, white guy at the same church, in a wheelchair. Not going to be on the floor building pallets, so how's he going to help us? So I had to gain the employee's trust, think about our employee factor. These guys come from a life of no one's ever trusted them.
Correct.
Self-inflicted wounds or not. So we had 63 employees at the time in my job as I viewed it, and I didn't get any direction from him. He just told me his goals, which was okay.
The old hire you and set you free.
And I work better in that environment. If you don't cage me, if you don't build a box around me, there's no telling what I can come up with and how I can improve. And I've done that multiple times. So as I explained that to him, he was kind of like, oh, dumb like a fox. I said, well, let's not assume how smart I am until we start to see results. But as we work through that entire situation, proof of results, try to make this short. I left that after 15 months, opportunities to go back into the business. I'd recovered enough physically to be able to do that job. And the first question when I came back to the owner and said, hey, I'm thinking about leaving, he goes, are you mad? No, do I have to be? He goes, well, usually when people leave here, they're mad. And I said, no, you asked me for a figure on what I thought I was worth. You didn't agree with that. I had to make a decision. He's the owner. I can stay and work for what I'm working for. I can go see if there's better opportunities. That set up, we reduced our workforce from 63 to 37. We increased our production 100%, 8 months in a row,
while reducing the number of people,
while reducing employees, and I only had to let 2 individuals go in a stressful situation. One of them physically threatened me, and that's a non-negotiable. So, as luck would have it, 5 years later, I run into this individual by chance, and he was the last checkout security guy at Best Buy. So I'm there on a different situation, walk out, don't recognize him, and this voice as I'm walking out the door says, "Mr. Schomburg." You know how your mind recognizes?
Clicks in it, yeah.
Man, I knew instantly. I turned around and said, "Hey, Terry." And he said, "How are you?" He said, it was a tough situation, different story. But all the things that happened in his exit flashed through my mind. I'm thinking, man, this could be rough. And he said, "I'm great." He said, "I've had 2 jobs since you had to let me go." And that was his phrase. "You had to let me go." That wording told me he didn't carry any grudges, what have you. The point is, I was able to ask him, "Terry, how do the guys view me as a leader, as an employee coming in?" And he paid me the highest compliment a man in that position could pay me. Everybody knew that you'd give them a fair shot. You didn't promise anybody anything you couldn't deliver. You didn't guarantee anything. You gave us each the same opportunity, and everybody was required to perform.
To succeed the same way.
Exactly.
That's interesting. That's a huge part of people and process, though, is about this idea of trust. This idea of, will these people go into battle for you? You know, and that's something that when I ran stores, that's all I ever cared about. You know, my dad taught me a long time ago to have, he made me well vested in sports. And when you get into dealerships, it was very important to have that because, you know, mechanics want to talk about NASCAR. Owners want to talk about golf, you know, whatever in between. I've told that story 100 times before, but it's always so relevant because it's about connection. It's about when you need something after 10 weeks of not needing something, you walk up to someone, you go, "Need something?" They go, "Of course."
Well, I'd shift that word to relationship. And for me, it's last year you and I connected around the country 3 different times in person. This year we connected a couple of times. And each time we can take off just where we left from. I mean, it was just, sit down and go. The ability to do that is learned. It's practiced. People who learn to do that
just take it for granted, I guess. I do.
Well, you may. Yeah. I don't buy that.
I don't take it for granted. I guess I don't think about it in that context. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's just muscle memory.
It becomes who you are, and that's the point. It doesn't mean you have to do it like I do it, or we have to do it like Steph does it, or anybody that does it. It's just part of who they are. That's why it can be taught. It doesn't. You don't have to arrive with that. I can teach you how to do that. And the key is, I want to let you free to be you. Whoever it is, you people are looking for permission to be themselves, and everybody's different. That's the little bit that I've learned about the car business. The true sales floor individuals and service drive individuals who are the most successful are comfortable in their own skin. And someone, somewhere in their life, wherever it occurred, early, late, later, recently, they heard something that said, "It's okay to be you. So go be you at the best level you can." And I don't mean that as like one of those cultish, cliche-ish kind of things. I don't
need to print it up on my wall. I get what you mean, though.
Just go be you. And in leaderships and influencers' interactions with those people, I'm back to the pallet shop again. The guys learned that all of the things that I knew I didn't know, I was going to have to learn from them. So I gave them the opportunity to be even more valued. It's not just that we're paying you to do a job. You're actually key in how we're going to grow. Because we shared the goals with them. Yeah. So look, guys, this isn't some just rabbit hole gig. We are going to be professionally run. We're going to have uniforms. When somebody shows up, you're going to know how to greet them. And people are like, "Nah, it's a pallet shop, man." First red flag, we're not a pallet shop. We're a manufacturing facility. And if it's semantics and that's how people want to see it, again, Man, let's
It might not be the
adjust
right fit then. I mean, because again, if it's semantics, to me, there's a certain reason to say a certain thing, And so when we when we started off, Carbiz, I went out of my way to not call myself a consulting company. Like, literally, was just like spelling out shit. Was just like, call me accountability for. I don't give a shit what you call me. Just don't call me a consultant, because it came with this kind of this negative connotation about you're gonna put me in a box. It's got to be this way or the highway, and I had just done that. Right, for a living with my last contract before I started Carbiz, and that's probably what I hated. I hated this idea of being like, well, come here, let me fit you. It doesn't work that way. I have to be more nimble.
Here's the analogy, and this is not mine. I borrow this from a guy that I highly respect, a guy who teaches relationship management to all kinds of companies around the country. He used it in crowds, and he says, don't say it out loud, but think of your dog. Everybody got their dog?
Okay.
And then he goes around the room and he says, what's your dog? German Shepherd. What's your dog?
Got it.
Beagle. What's your dog? And the point is, when you say consultant, you don't know what their dog is. They only know what your dog is because you're in that box. So let's eliminate the box. Let's get rid of the preconceived notions, biases, whatever you come with. Again, it's about allowing people to be themselves.
Right, and being in a corporate construct, I quickly realized that is not how I'll ever be able to be
I would have
myself.
never
Look, I did it because it made sense at the time, because I had been working 75, 80 hours a week at stores.
Sure.
And so I had a chance to reconnect with my wife and, figure out who we were, and it had been years. So I did it, but
you recognize, that's one of the things that connects you and I. You recognized in your life what was important, and said somehow I have to adjust it. So I'm not going to say fix it.
No, we've got to have a better outcome.
Yeah,
we've got to change what we're doing. So we keep doing the same thing.
That piece that you shared about when you started your company, even though I know we're recording this for later use.
Yeah.
The piece that you shared about as you started Carbiz, it reminded me of my webpage that I created as a turf consultant, so that if people read that and still thought they needed to talk to me, we had a 90% chance of doing a deal.
Right.
I didn't realize that I was using it as the filter when I did it, but I looked back and went, yeah, that's exactly what I did. And your description of that on your latest...
Yeah, this is why we started the show.
Yeah.
The 5 minutes was started to give people a real quick, less than 20-minute explanation. The first episode, people remind me all the time, like, you swear a lot in the first episode. I'm like, yeah, probably because I was trying to move a point, That's who I am. So
this is my emphasis.
Bill, we'll wrap it up.
Go ahead.
Where would you leave... What is the most important thing for people in dealerships? That's obviously a lot of our audience, but people in process. What's one of the most important things when I say that to you? What comes to mind?
Nothing fits everybody.
Okay.
Never will. The relationships from the top down. I substitute the word influencer for leader, because a leader should be an influencer. A leader is always an influencer. You never know if it's positive or negative. Because it's going to be one or the other. It's never, nobody ever goes, oh yeah, white bread over there.
No.
It's one or the other. And if it's a little bit positive, the amount that can be done in that circumstance versus a little bit negative, because the negative's a cancer. I don't care whether it's big, small, it's a cancer.
So stay positive.
Without question.
And if you have negativity, deal with it yourself. Don't put it on your people.
See, you said it better than I ever could.
Shit doesn't roll downhill. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. Part of being a leader should be a filter. Is that whatever it is that bothers you or upsets you should stop where it is.
And it doesn't mean you won't have rough days.
Absolutely not.
But know who is your confidant or your confidants that you can turn to and say, I'm just not 100% today.
Just don't take it out on everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're going to carry it around, you just want to carry around a squirt gun and start shooting people and annoy them and laugh at their reaction instead of carrying your negative shit.
That's a good one, though. That's a good one. Folks, as always, I promised you Bill Schomburg would be the best. He is. I did not pay him to wear this shirt. He has worn this on his own volition. Proudly. He's happy. You can find me all over LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You know where you can find the podcast. Bill, LinkedIn? LinkedIn for Bill as well. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again on another episode of 5 Minutes with Sean.